All right.
So here we are.
Here we
Merry
are.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. The last one for the year.
Yeah.
Just making sure everybody gets in because this is the last one. They need to be here for sure. You all have
Yeah,
been with us for the entire year, and that we very much appreciate that.
we do.
All of your support because without you, we can't do this. You are the reason that we're doing this, making sure that we can spread a little bit of light and a little bit of knowledge, of course, to everybody that we can and reach as many people as we can because that's what it's about
For sure.
at the end of the day. So I think we're just getting people to come in very slowly. It's Christmas time. They may have some traffic.
Right. But I know growing up, our parents would wait until all the kids came down on Christmas morning before we would start our
Nice.
celebration. So we need to do the same thing here
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Wait for
Yeah.
everybody. The
Everybody
gifts.
can.
The gifts
Hmm.
will wait. We'll have all of the gifts within the next hour or so. So the
Yes.
gifts are slowly coming in, and the kids are coming downstairs.
Hey, did you see the comment from Amadreza?
Yes, very interesting, right?
Yes, yes.
I didn't
So
know
as
that.
for yeah, I did not. I did not either, and so I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But he did. He looked at our invite, and he said that there is an Iranian
Yes.
story, Christmas story, where it was three Iranian wise men,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought gifts. So the tie-in there is very cool.
Yes.
We've gone full circle. We're back to where we started with this
Yep.
podcast series of
Mm-hmm.
going to KSA and going to the Middle East and that part of the world, and I'm going to make the tie-in here as we finish off the year. So that was
For
when he
sure.
told that story. He said the image that we used for the
Mm-hmm.
announcement for this kind of harkened back to that story that he has from Iran,
Yeah.
which is great. And that's our the Christmas story says
What's
there were
about?
three wise men from the east,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the part of the world that that's referring to. So this does tie
It
right back
does.
into it, which is so cool.
Always, and it's so good to have all of the different cultures,
Hmm.
tied in because I know Christmas is celebrated very differently in different parts of the world.
Right.
So
Or
very,
even not Christmas, but other
yes.
sorts of holidays, some, in the same time frame, some in different time
Mm-hmm.
frames. But I think there is some commonality in a lot of them that
Yep.
maybe have some religious origins,
Mm-hmm.
but can be very much focused on family and getting together as
Yes.
a family and these common things that we all share. So
Mm-hmm.
it's good to think about those things in that broader context.
Yeah, and one thing that unites us all is Greece because we have to keep it moving.
That's right.
We always have to keep it moving. So I see that
Yeah.
we have some people coming in and joining us, which is great.
Good.
Perfect.
Good. So, well, yeah. So, well, welcome, Sanya. Merry Christmas to
Merry Christmas.
you,
Same to you.
and we're excited to get this started. Our next podcast, Grease Thief, goes live,
Mhm.
and we've chosen the gifts of great
Yes.
grease lubrication this time around. So, yeah, let's see what we've got here.
Oh
And so,
wow.
if we think about a lubric, we what have we done recently? We've done the
Hmm.
spooky Halloween grease stories, and we did Thanksgiving for grease lubrication and
Hmm.
grease sampling. Now we're going to do a lubrication Christmas, and like I said in our discussion as we started here, the story is the wise men from the east,
Hmm.
which is the Middle East, right?
Yep.
That was that part of the world, and these individuals in this story brought gifts of great significance. And
Hmm.
so that event or that story is commemorated today through some of the customs
Yep.
that we in some in the Western world see through the customs of Christmas in the giving of gifts. And so that's where I'm going to kind of, you know, orient this story about as we continue to talk about grease sampling and analysis. But yes, the wise men from the
Yep.
east. And Well, sure. Most of the petroleum products are
Yes, they
originating
are.
there, right? So there are some gifts that we get that pertain directly to that. This industry has brought us quality in
Hmm.
base oils. In even I was thinking the other day that the first time I heard about GTL, or gas to liquid technology, was 25 years ago. From
Wow.
I think it was from Kuwait, where some of that
Yes.
was being developed, right? So
Yes,
it's
definitely. I remember
def-
that one.
yep, it's definitely technology that we're seeing more and more. Um,
Hmm.
and this kind of innovation, whether it's additives or whatever, is a lot of this is coming from this part of the world.
Hmm.
But it makes us, maybe ask the question: why would we waste this precious resource?
Hmm.
We think about it at the gift giving time at Christmas and the precious gifts that were given in the story of the wise men from the East. But we're getting these gifts of
Yeah.
petroleum products, oils, and greases. And I would say that about half of all the grease used in machinery is wasted. And we've shared
Hmm.
that discussion before, where it seems like every time we take the effort to look and work towards optimization, we find out that we are using way more grease than we need to.
Yep.
So the gifts are here, the tools are here for us to optimize, and we just need to show some responsibility to be good stewards of
Yes.
this valuable resource. We don't, when someone gives us a gift, we don't toss it away, we don't ignore it, we don't trash it, we treasure it. So we should be treasuring this gift from the sources that we have in the Middle East. So our gift to you, Sanya and our gift to you today is the Grease Thief Mini Lab, which
Oh,
we
yeah.
talking about more and more, that this is a tool that can go into your hands and help to conserve that resource and use it effectively and value
Hmm.
what we have in these lubricants. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. Of course, this is a screenshot from, I guess, last time, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
where I did a live presentation
Yes.
from the laboratory and showed those three different instruments in the
Hmm.
mini lab. So I'm going to dive into that a little bit more today, as well as we talk about the gifts. So how do we open this new gift that we might receive, the mini lab? It's something where it's not in the lab testing, it's not
Hmm.
in the machine testing like some sensors might be, but it's at the machine testing. It
Right.
kind of bridges that gap. And we've talked about these two key components. And I was just at some conferences recently, and we were
Hmm.
doing some demonstrations of these things. And I think more and more folks are looking at this as a tool. In fact, one of the inquiries that came to us was from the Middle East area. So we've seen this as an opportunity for folks to get involved, maybe before the major laboratories catch up to the
Hmm.
technology, but we can put it in place. And so the FerroQ, the induction coil measurement that allows us to reliably measure, trend, compare the wear levels in greases, and
Yep.
then so the colorimeter, which gives us a broad look at a lot of different things that can happen to grease as the color might change due to, what were they again? The color can change due to,
It can change due to all of the different like contaminants, if you have oxidation, if you have other things going on in your grease, because color is very important and
yes,
it can like visually, and I would say mathematically, because you're going to get a value on it compared to, just eyeballing it and
it's
saying, okay,
eyeballing it.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a color change. We can work with that. But actually having a value, that's what helps a lot. And
Yeah,
that's
and I think about, like you'll hear two different ways of saying this. You said that the color does matter, but then you'll hear other people say that color really doesn't matter. And what they're talking about is
oh,
that, well, the red grease, the blue grease,
mm-hmm.
the green grease,
Yeah.
that's just the wrapping on the gift, right? It's
Yes.
just the appearance. And we get beautiful, sometimes we get beautiful
Mm-hmm.
gifts that are wrapped in colorful paper and they have a red bow on it or a green bow or something. That's kind of like the color in grease, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what's inside. That's just the
Yeah.
outside of the package. But what's inside are all the important things, like you said,
Yep.
which are what are the contaminants that are in there? That
Mhm.
changes the color. Has it oxidized or overheated? That changes the color. So, and if someone put the wrong grease in there, we
Yeah,
talked about
that
all those
changes the
things.
color too.
Yeah. But I think of it like the wrapping on the
Mhm.
package, right? We can see when something's changing, but then we go down inside and we say, now what causes that color change in grease? So
Mhm.
I just a little bit more just to catch people up to speed on what you can
Mhm.
do with some of these instruments. This is after you open the wrapping paper
Yes,
and you find out what's inside, right? And you're like
excitement.
excited, like, what can I do with this thing? You know? I mean, I remember when I was little, the exciting things were like sporting equipment,
Mhm.
or I would get like my brother and I like to build models or have race
Oh, yeah.
cars and things like that. What what were good gifts for you growing up?
Oh, I love the science gifts.
The science.
Clearly.
I think they worked. They brought you here.
It definitely did.
Yeah.
Definitely did.
But isn't that some of the excitement, which is
Mhm.
there's the gift, there's the wrapping paper, it looks beautiful, we tear it open, but what's inside? That's
Yeah.
going to be the longer term value of the gift, right? And when we
Mhm.
look what's inside the furrow cue, it's pretty exciting because
Yes.
this device uses an inductive coil to measure the ferrous wear content in parts per million, right? So we actually get a number we can
Right.
use, we can trend, we can put criteria against it and say that number's okay, this number concerns us. And really the exciting part of what's inside this gift is the ability to measure quantitatively even when grease is heterogeneous, even when it's not mixed up, even when the particles are big and small and differently
Mhm.
distributed through the grease, we're going to get a consistent representation because of the way that this inductive coil measures, all the way up to 200 ppm. That's
Wow. That's a lot.
20% metal in your grease, which sounds outrageous and wild, but
Yes.
it happens. And you know, so one way we would celebrate Christmas is put a tree up and we would hang
Mhm.
tinsel from the tree, and the tinsel was
Right.
reflective and shiny. We call that mylar today, but it was the shiny. Now that would be a bad thing to see in your
It would
grease,
be.
right? The
Yes.
sparkles and the shininess.
Nobody wants to see that in their grease. It means that it's sparkling and shining on the inside as well and
Yeah.
damaging your equipment. So, not a
Yeah,
good
important
thing.
bits of the machine have made it outside, so
Mhm.
that's not good. But we get the chance here to measure both small and large size particles. And then, as we think about the other tools and other things that can be done on the oil analysis side, some of those metal measuring instruments like ICP
Right.
are very size limited. They are only going to see the
Mhm.
very smallest particles, but we want to see it all. We want to see the
Yep.
large particles, So that's all there in here, and that's an exciting part of what's inside the present of the FDM. The guts are what's inside,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I don't think I've ever shared this, but this was really interesting work, research
Mhm.
work that was done and published by the Electric Power Research Institute. I've got
Right.
that reference there. By the
Mhm.
way, anybody that's watching and is working in an area of responsibility for grease lubricated equipment, that project, that report is available for free online.
Yes.
So it's our gift to you.
Yeah.
You just go to the epri.com website and put in effective grease practices, just like that, effective grease practices.
Mhm.
And you'll find a very extensive manual, which at the time originally was $25,000 per copy.
Wow.
And now we're giving it away as
Wow.
a gift. So,
Well done. You
yes,
all have expensive gift there.
yeah, yeah, that's always nice, right? But what is it expensive or does it have value, right? There can be things
Ah,
that are expensive, but they don't
that don't add
necessarily have
value.
value,
Yeah.
right? This is very valuable because it shows and it convinces us and whoever is making a decision about greases
Mhm.
that the data is there. And you can
Yep.
see this was a controlled experiment where this is a motor operated valve. We've talked about
Mhm.
motor operated valves. You can see a
Yes.
picture of one there on the right, and a sample being taken. But an operating motor operated valve was run for a period of time with grease samples being taken, and it had a fairly level trend by looking at the ferrous content that you would with the ferrocue.
Hmm.
And then we turned it into a Grinch. Do you know that story, the
Oh,
Grinch?
yes.
I don't know if everybody does, but the Grinch was our favorite Dr. Seuss's
Hmm.
bad guy on Christmas,
Yep.
right? Who just mixed everything up and took away the presents and took away the
Hmm.
gifts. Well, we turned this gearbox into a Grinch by deliberately misaligning it.
Yikes.
And if you see the Grinch, he's all kind of hunched over. He's
Hmm. He is
misaligned.
misaligned for
Yeah,
sure.
he is, right? And he has a whole dried up heart. And
Oh my
so,
gosh.
and that's what happened right in the middle here, that we
Hmm.
misaligned this thing. And what happened?
Yeah.
Then it took off. The trend changed. So,
Yep.
someone might say, well, I can take a grease sample, but how do I measure it? And that answer was in the
Mm.
ferrocue. Okay, I've
Yeah.
got a measurement, but does it really tell me when something changes? Does it really reflect
Ah.
if that's a good or a bad thing?
Hmm.
Right here, that was just very clear that
Very.
trend changed markedly, that we knew there was a problem and there was metal grinding off of those gear surfaces.
Not good. Not good at all.
No.
That's not going to make your heart go 3 sizes.
Like the Grinch, right?
Yeah.
But what if we found this situation? We did it deliberately, but
Hmm.
what if you didn't know and you
Yeah.
took 3 samples and you saw this, then you could fix it.
Hmm.
And then the
Yeah.
Grinch's heart would grow three
Yes.
sizes because
Yes.
now it's going to last and it's going to be healthy, and we're not
Happy.
going to have these rare problems. Healthy and happy.
Which is all we could really want for Christmas.
Yeah. Well, that's true, right? Presents are fine and
Yeah.
gifts are great, but
Hmm.
health and happiness, that's the
Most
probably the nicest
important.
thing we can wish to people, right?
Yep. For
So
sure.
so we want to wish them well with their grease lubricated machinery. And the second gift that they can open is the colorimeter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And here's another Grinchy machine shown on the right. What do you see there?
Oh boy, it looks like we have some issues going on. I'm seeing
Yeah.
different colors, a lot of different colors, and that should not be.
No, there's our Zerk fitting right in the middle, the round Zerk fitting, right?
Mhm.
But there's what colors do we have there?
We have green, we have red, we have orange,
Yeah,
There are a lot of different colors going on there, and I know that that's not supposed to be like that.
right. And I just think there's too much out there today about, well, just grease that thing. Any grease is better than no grease. And we know better now, right? We know that that's not
Yes.
true. The greases have to be compatible. We have to select the right grease for the application, make sure it's there. I think someone left a trail of crumbs for us here.
Yes,
Do you
they
remember
did.
that in The Grinch That Stole Christmas?
Oh my
He took the
gosh, she
last little
did.
crumb. They took all
Yes,
the gifts, and then one
everything.
last little crumb he took away from the mouse, right? So nobody had
Hmm.
nothing. But there's a
Nothing.
trail of breadcrumbs here left
Hmm.
by this, maybe two different greasers. I don't know, but two different
A
grease
tree.
guns, I would say, or three. Yeah. And that trail of crumbs tells us, but we don't always get this. Sometimes it looks fine from the outside, and we have to go inside, pull that grease sample out,
Yep.
analyze it. And now we have a tool for that, which is the grease thief colorimeter. And the
Hmm.
colorimeter is pictured there. It has a little Teflon block, and that Teflon block
Yep.
squeezes down the grease onto the spectrometer window. And it sounds complicated, it's got this, and there's a
Mm.
spectrometer and everything else. This is like a 2-minute job.
Yep.
Just a dab of grease, squeeze it down, and then pull out your iPhone and operate
Done.
the spectrometer and get the answer, right? And you get those pictures like you see on the left. If the colors are the
Hmm.
same, it
Change.
looks good, and we can see some severe oxidation. One of the
Yeah.
things that you mentioned, that color
Hmm.
can change as a result of. So, two good gifts.
Two good gifts, and I know we actually have a demo of you doing that entire process and
Yeah,
getting it done. So it really is that quick and easy to do. So good things to
right.
have in your mini lab for sure.
And that's another thing, you mentioned, you bring up a previous demo. This
Mhm.
is something where folks can go see all of our videos, right,
Yeah.
on YouTube. So some folks are watching by YouTube, and I know you always do a good job at sending out the links
Oh
to
yeah.
folks. But if you follow today's YouTube link, it takes you right into the MRG Labs YouTube channel, and you can go back and look at the previous
All of the previous stuff.
demonstrations and see Sanya and I talking about all sorts of aspects of grease lubrication, right? And I think one of them may have been some case studies. So I wanted to
Yes.
bring some of these case studies back so we can talk about what is the real gift here, right? And this is a case
Mm-hmm.
study about robotics
Oh,
and robots that use greases. And this seems to come up more and more now, and I see more and
especially
more. Go ahead.
especially now, there are a lot of robots coming into place. We're
Yeah,
doing a lot of, automation and trying to move forward, not decreasing the workforce, but trying to make it more efficient. Gonna make
right.
sure I say that part because I think that's what it's all about, making it more efficient. So definitely we're gonna see an increase in robotics and greases for sure.
Yeah, and we even use it in the laboratory.
Oh yeah.
And because just like very repeatable tasks, a
Mm-hmm.
robot's going to do it the exact same way every time, and that's going to help us with certain measurements. But like you say,
Yes.
what that does is it just frees up our
Mm-hmm.
experienced lab personnel to be able to add more value to the process.
Always.
Yeah. So this one here, this was an example of where we looked at a whole bunch of robots in a assembly line automation. So this was for vehicles, for cars,
Mm-hmm.
and robots had different jobs that they were given. Some had heavy payloads, some had almost no payload. Some
Yeah.
were cycling all the time, some sat still a lot of times. Some had big swings of the arms at high speeds, and some were just making little movements. So a lot of different
Yep.
stresses were being put on the greases in these robots. And so we took samples from hundreds of robots, and it allowed us, the results allowed us to look at condition-based relubrication tasks to
Right.
reduce those required manpower and the cost that was being spent in purchasing grease that really wasn't needed.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes these
Wow.
robots, they all look the same. They're very clever at hiding their problems.
Yes.
They just go about their business. They don't complain.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say, my back hurts or whatever
Mm-hmm.
until they finally just stop moving. So
Yep.
if we can peer inside and we can get some advance notice, that's really going to save things, because in that
It will.
assembly line environment, if you can plan ahead, if you
Mm-hmm.
can take a shutdown, knowing exactly what you need, which
Yes.
robot to go to, what parts to bring to it, that's going to save tremendous. I mean,
A
tens of
lot.
thousands of dollars per hour in some
Mm-hmm.
cases on some of these assembly lines. And here you can see all these robots look the same from the outside,
Mm-hmm.
but hidden inside, there's 3 joints on one robot.
Yeah.
It's ready to take a day off.
Yes,
It's ready to say,
definitely.
I need a holiday.
Mm.
So, what can we do with robotic grease life? This was a customer with 110 robots using
Wow.
that automation. The analysis helped us to optimize the grease life, reduce the downtime,
Mm-hmm.
and reduce the total maintenance that was required.
Right.
We also had some additional insight into the condition for some proactive maintenance scheduling. So not just the greasing process, but also the health of the robot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all this gave us a gift. And what was that gift? The gift, and you know what? You never know what's going to be inside a box that you get. It
Yep.
could be big, could be small. But when you get that little envelope that's shaped about the size of a dollar bill, then you got a pretty good idea you're going to
Yeah.
be,
What's gonna be inside?
yeah, that's something I could do. I can get whatever I want with that. And so there's the gift here. It was money. They were saving every year on those
Wow.
robots $90,000 on so it's a 10-time multiplier from the investment that it took to get that information.
That's a lot.
That's a gift.
That's a gift. That's definitely a gift. A gift that it can be reused and placed in other places.
That's right. That's right. Now, here's another one, and this goes to one of our big applications, which is locomotive wheel
Mm-hmm.
bearings. And so we've talked about that, where the wheel bearing samples are being taken using the Grease Thief Slim,
Right.
one of the tools,
Mm-hmm.
one of
Yes.
the tools in that toolbox. And if you get a Christmas gift and it's in a box like
Ah, yes.
this, you
I'd
can
be
be
very
excited.
excited.
Yeah. Now, it might not have all the wrapping, and we can put a bow around this.
Yes, definitely.
Ask my kids; they've gotten Christmas gifts in these boxes, no doubt. But if you're in charge of assets, critical assets that are
Hmm.
grease lubricated, that would be an awfully good gift to get for
Yes, it
yourself
would
and
be.
for those assets, because these locomotives, they've been able to change their maintenance schedules and
Hmm.
base it on grease analysis. They've also been able to schedule the time
Right.
for depot maintenance, because the rest of the time they're out making money. They're out on the track. They're
Yes.
moving back and forth.
Hmm.
Um, and just I got to say this just for myself, that one of the most exciting things for me at Christmas time was that my dad would set up a miniature railroad
Nice.
underneath the Christmas tree. And I think for me, that was as exciting as
Hmm.
opening the gifts. And,
Yep.
uh, so it's kind of funny now that
Yes.
I've grown up, it's
Hmm.
all different.
Yes.
Except that my wife's brother, he does this. He has in his basement this miniature railroad,
Oh,
which is
very nice.
fabulous. So when we go to visit, they all know that I will not be around. I'll be in the basement playing with the trains. So, that's something we can do. Since I'm
Hmm.
like introducing this, I we actually have a Wabtec locomotive on that
Hmm.
train layout. We have a Union Pacific locomotive on there,
Right.
and my brother-in-law has taken a little grease thief and put it on a flat
Oh,
car that goes around the track. So I
very
think
nice.
one of these, I think I will broadcast from the train layout,
Hmm.
because what
I
he
think
has
you
done.
should.
Yeah, and I know it's not just me. I know a lot of people
Would be very excited for that.
like the trains at Christmas time. Um, and then what he has done is he has built all of these businesses. So he has a
Oh,
cement factory, and
yes.
he has a recovery yard where they've got all the parts, and it's all the
Nice.
metals recovery and so forth. So maybe I can even convince him to add a few more of the key industries, that maybe a
Definitely.
refinery. Maybe I could have him put a little
Hmm.
refinery in there, and then we'll talk about all the benefits and the delivery of the grease thief from the locomotive. But look at the gift here. This is
Yeah.
what a wonderful
That's a
gift.
big gift. Yeah, for
I
sure. That's
get
a
a
big gift.
million US every month for one rail operator. So that's the gift that you want, that keeps on giving, right? You
That
just want it to
is.
be more and more usage that way, because it's saving the resource, this
Hmm.
precious, grease that's it's coming from these petroleum places, and if we don't have to waste it, let's not. Let's be good
Yeah.
stewards. Good stewards of that.
Always, it's always good to be a good steward.
And then my third one, another, you know, big gift here, comes from our friends in the wind industry,
Yeah.
where we've been able to, develop some standards even specific to that
Yes.
industry. The American Wind Energy Association developed a standard for sampling
Hmm.
bearings, right? So, that happens. Then you can analyze it. You can use things like the GT Slim, which we've talked about,
Right.
and you get results that clearly correlate condition, what's inside. So it's more like, it's
Yeah.
again like on the outside it looks fine, but there's maybe a Grinch inside, and
Maybe.
you can find that Grinch. So the gift would be seeing inside that slow moving
Yes.
machine, which is hard to do like vibration analysis
Oh,
on and
yeah.
other techniques. But grease analysis, that tells you the whole story.
Hmm.
And the real gift there for the folks in the wind industry, whether it's offshore where they need a ship to go from tower to tower, or if it's onshore and then you need to set up a crane, the key
Yes.
there is, where do I put that crane?
Yeah.
How many while I got it here and I spent all that money to bring it on site, how many different towers do I need to do maintenance on? And when you
Hmm.
start coordinating all that, it saves a lot of resources, saves a
It
lot of money.
does.
So huge gift.
And let's not talk about the stairs that you need to climb to get up into those wind turbines.
Well, that's
Just,
coming soon for you, right? You're going
oh
to
my
be you're
gosh.
going to be going into a wind turbine, are you?
I'm gonna try not to go into a wind turbine or one with an elevator.
Yeah. Or you can send somebody with a GoPro and say, I'll just watch
Mm-hmm.
the video. You look
Yes,
at
you
that when
go
you
ahead.
get back. So, yeah, I've had a chance to do a couple of those when I was a little bit younger. And if I
Nice.
never have to climb up
Yeah,
a wind turbine again, I think I'll be just okay.
I think so too. Definitely.
Well, three cases. This should be case four, I guess,
Oh,
but it's helicopter sampling. And so,
wow.
again, it's nice to share these ones that
Mm-hmm.
are, in that little money envelope, right? We've saved
Mm-hmm.
big money. And that was
Definitely.
certainly in this military helicopter
Yeah.
application, reducing the loop tasks, from almost 100 every flight hours to just
Wow.
56, almost cuts it in half.
Mm-hmm.
And then the service interruptions. How long can that aircraft be flying
Yeah.
before it has to be put in for the maintenance work? And it was knocked down from 20 service interruptions to
Wow.
just 8 every 1,000 flight hours.
Yeah,
So
that saves a lot.
it's out there to do that job. And this one photo here comes from a YouTube video from the Canadian Royal Canadian Air
Uh,
Force, and this is actually a flying hospital that they were
right.
using to treat people in Africa, in Mali.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I think sometimes it's nice for us to connect with the impact that we have.
Mm-hmm.
That we look at the grease, we look at the oil, we say
Right.
that machine's better, but what does that really mean to people? What kind of
Yeah.
impact does it have? And while we could say the gift here for the asset operator is a fleet savings of 100 million every year for that
Mm-hmm.
particular helicopter, we also have that impact of being available to do the job and help people where that's
Yeah. Or save a life.
save a life, save a life.
Save a
A lot
life.
of these, in fact, the one time I got to go on site to take a sample alongside some of the folks that were maintaining these, uh, we had one there because the other three had taken off to respond to hurricane flooding, and so
Oh,
yeah, people that were really in need were
yeah.
served, and that's what we want to do. We want our assets to work when we need
Mm-hmm.
them. We want them to be serviceable as much as possible, and grease analysis helps us make that a reality.
It does. It definitely does. Because you want to be able to rely on those things, especially during those emergency and those critical times. And making sure that your equipment works at the time that it's supposed to is just part of that gift because there are a lot of impacts that you can have during that time.
Yeah, it definitely. You want the machine running, not
Hmm.
pulled apart and being,
No,
overhauled or what have you.
you want to try and save that life for
Right.
sure.
So the question is, are we really using these gifts that we have been
Hmm.
given? When it comes to grease analysis, I have to say there are some adopters. There are some people
Hmm.
who've taken these gifts and used them, but there's a lot more that haven't. There's a
Yeah.
lot of opportunity out there. And if we're not using these gifts, we might be leaving our machinery alone to suffer.
Not a good thing. Not a
No.
good thing to do at all.
So, my Christmas idea is give a present to
Hmm.
your machinery.
Yes.
Use a grease thief sampling kit to monitor your assets
Hmm.
and then match that kit, right? Because here this kit says, let's see, I got to show it on this side.
Okay.
Got all the different options there, robots and pillow blocks and electric motors and
Hmm.
what else? Wind turbines. And then, of course, the ever present Grease Thief Slim, which gets into
Yeah.
those tight spots. But give that gift, right? Help our
Hmm.
machinery out.
Yes.
And then, of course, on the backside of that, do that analysis, that ASTM
Hmm.
standard 7918. By the way, just this month, just 2 weeks ago, I
Hmm.
was at the ASTM meeting where we
Yes.
were talking about these standards. And I can give a sneak preview. ASTM D7718,
Hmm.
that was brought up in committee, and it's going to be undergoing a revision.
Nice.
Yes.
It's
So
gonna be
I'm
interesting.
I'm the chairman of the working group that's
Good.
working on that. And I just like to issue an open invitation for
Hmm.
anyone to participate. Now, to participate, you become a volunteer member of ASTM, but then you can join that committee and you can contribute. So if you've got ideas for improving grease sampling, if you have a tool that that does a good job to take a good grease sample, or a method that you've utilized, or you just
Hmm.
want to learn more about what's out there, participating in that working group is great. So all anybody has to do is reach out to me, Sanya. We
Yep.
usually give some good contact
We
information.
do. We definitely do. So I will be sending out some information soon, but just reach out to Rich if you're interested. And I think it's always a good thing to give back to your community because you are working in the environment, you're working with the equipment. There are certain things that you will see that some people may not. So it's always good to bring that to the forefront and like be part of the standard. Like you're literally writing the standard with them. So why not take the opportunity to be part of it? That could be the gift you give yourself for the new year. So
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah, a gift to the industry
Yep.
of your time, and a gift to
Hmm.
yourself because of all the. I mean, I've learned so much by
Yes.
volunteering for ASTM. I know you've contributed.
Oh
You've
yeah.
written books,
Yeah.
uh, and you're one of the the authors on that STP document,
Oh
right? That
boy.
yeah. So yeah. So it's out there. The opportunity is
Hmm.
out there. I'm going to encourage people to do that. And if you happen to work in a part of the world where no lab is nearby analyzing greases, then bring the gift of a grease thief mini
Yep.
lab
Yep.
from afar,
Definitely.
the gift from afar. Maybe we'll, instead of the wise men coming from the east and bringing us their gifts, we'll send gifts down to the
Yeah.
east so that they can do the grease analysis themselves, um,
Yep.
and
That's
pursue that
awesome.
grease lubrication optimization.
Glow up. It's the season.
Yeah. Share that new knowledge.
Hmm.
It's a giving of a gift itself.
Yes,
So
definitely.
the grease thief is the gift to give lubricated machinery, right?
Hmm.
And we talk about, you can go to greasethief.com and
Hmm.
choose the sampling kit options that make
Yes,
sense. We always say, if you don't seem to have a match, right? Because there's a lot of unique equipment out there.
there is.
We've worked with everything from chair lifts for ski areas to mining machines that bore tunnels under cities, and some of these machines are fairly unique, but they're grease
Mhm.
lubricated. So it's just a
Yes.
matter of getting together and picking through it. So if anybody has something and they don't recognize their application on
Hmm.
this list here, just reach out to us and we'll work together to figure it out.
That's what it's about. Really working together and making sure that your assets are your priority at this point. Because I know this is the Christmas holiday season, and sometimes they like to take a break, just like the humans. So this is the time that we see a lot of, unplanned shutdowns, a lot of crazy things happening. So, try to minimize the crazy things happening and plan for it as much as you can with your grease analysis because that's one way you could trend and know what's going on in your equipment. And, rather than let them take the holiday over this end of the year, maybe you could schedule it, make
Yeah.
it a little bit easier for everybody involved, you know?
It's if you're home with your family, that's a
Yeah,
terrible time to get the call to say,
terrible.
come back to the plant. We have a
Yeah.
problem. We didn't
Yep.
see it coming, and
Hmm.
that's just awful. That
Not
sticks with you.
good.
So plan it out. Know what the condition
Yep.
of the machinery is. Start sampling and analyzing. Even set up
Hmm.
your own little mini lab. Right?
Yes.
You could do it on a desktop, and
Yes. On
no
your desktop.
chemicals, and
No fume
easy
hoods.
setup. Yep, easy to do. So ask Santa for a grease thief mini lab, right?
Yes. Perfect gifts. And I know, like, I just want to shout out a couple of people that we have joining us
Oh, good.
on LinkedIn, on YouTube. I know Hamza said that he was getting a little bit of trouble with LinkedIn this morning.
Oh,
It's the holiday season, things happen. But I know Gary with his hair, Manny Khan is also here. Ahmed is here for sure, talking about robotics. Linda has joined us as well. I think
oh,
she
good.
loves playing with the trains.
Is that
Sure.
right?
Yes, I did get a train set once for Christmas, so I know what she's talking about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have a couple more people joining us that haven't left any comments yet,
Hmm.
but I know that they are very interested in getting a grease leaf for Christmas or even the entire lab because it's cutting edge technology. We're trying to help your assets. And a lot of times people forget about the grease. They, just say, okay, we're just focusing on the oils. That should be it. But your greases are in a lot of your critical pieces of equipment.
Hmm.
And like we said, nobody wants that call in the middle of the night or when you're with your family that something has gone down and that you have to go and replace it when you could have
Yeah.
monitored that in the past. And nobody wants to be on a train that is stuck somewhere because somebody did not do what they were supposed to do, or they're not monitoring all of the different assets being used with your greases. So
Right.
it's definitely something that you want to, think about, adopting for the new year.
Yeah, you bring up a good point about the trains because I was just
Mm-hmm.
thinking about this. You know, a lot of gifts come from
Yes.
Santa or whoever,
Mhm.
and some may come from relatives that
Right.
live far away. They might ship us their gifts. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, that example that I gave for the locomotive wheel bearings is being applied to package shipment trains.
Nice.
So this could be the difference
Yep.
between someone getting a gift on Christmas Day or not seeing it show up to much, much
Yeah.
later. So that would be
Yep.
disappointing, right? You
That
come
would
down and
be.
there's a tree like you have in the
That would
background there. I
be.
see your
Yeah.
tree there. And
Mm-hmm.
no presents
Oh
because the
yeah.
locomotive pulling the package train
Did
has
not make it.
seized to a halt because they weren't testing the grease. It would be
Oh no.
tragic.
That'd be sad. That'd be very sad.
The only
But this is
person
why you
happy
order
about
in
that,
advance.
yeah, the only person happy about that would be the Grinch, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. He'll
Yeah.
get one more present in his stocking.
Well, I just want to wish everybody
Yes.
a Merry Christmas. And here's another thing. I know this is a tough time of year, so we've got a few folks that have joined us. They're pretty
Mm-hmm.
loyal to us. They're tuning
Yes.
in. They're getting ideas and so forth. If you collect some shipping addresses for me, I have some special grease thief gifts
Mm.
to send
Nice.
out, no cost, little prizes, as we used to
Yeah.
say in Philadelphia. We called it. We didn't say presents, we said prizes. But
Nice.
send them out to folks, and let me give you a little hint of one of them.
Oh yeah.
It's green
Oh,
for Christmas,
that's cute.
and it's a little bearing and
Oh,
gear
that's
set.
so nice.
Yeah. And on the side of it, it says greasethief.com.
Well done. Now that's gonna be moving.
Yeah. So I like to take this to tell the story about
Mm-hmm.
grease analysis. Why is it so important that we get a sample? Well, if this is your bearing here and you're sampling somewhere over here, that's not helpful. It's inside the
Right.
machine, but it's not where you need to be. You need to be
Mm-hmm.
right next to those moving balls or gears. So you
Yep.
bring that grease thief right in and core that sample. But yeah, if folks want to share their address with us, we'll send out a gift to them, this and a couple of other things, some of which have very few people have seen yet because we're innovating. We have new
Nice.
ideas, which I'm also going to bring up in our next January New Year's
Right.
edition. And so if people want us to ship these out, we'll send some of those so they'll have them sitting there on their desk as we introduce these new products through this
Very
podcast.
nice. And I know William Sloan is actually asking if the mini lab has a computer software for analysis as well.
Yeah, that's a great question from
Yeah.
William. So I mentioned the app that exists
Mm-hmm.
for the colorimeter, and so right now your smartphone connects
All
to
right.
the spectrometer and produces that. But we are working on an additional functionality
Nice.
which would allow that to automatically convert into a report. Right now, there's some copying and
Oh yeah.
pasting and things, but yes, William, we are working on that, and that's one of the new things we're going to have for next year.
2025.
Yes, is
2025.
yep. New development will be that software, which also coordinates gathering that information. So great question from
Perfect.
William. He's on my nice list, and
Nice.
And that's we'll make sure we deliver on
Yeah.
that solution here soon. So thanks
Well,
for
I know, and I know David Turner loves your hats. So,
ah
David's always on the nice list.
yes, he is.
Always on the nice list.
He
I
always
have,
seems to get the best seat on the airplane too. I
he
don't know how he
does,
does that.
right?
He does a
Because
good
he's
job with
he's
that.
permanently on the nice list. That's why. That's
That's
why he
right.
gets the best seats. And I know we have Hamza just asking if there's a link to check out the details for the Grease Teeth mini lab. And we'll probably share a link with him in a little bit that he
Yeah,
could check that out.
yeah, and we can send that out to the folks that
Yes.
participated for our, we have our group on LinkedIn, and we can
Right.
send that as an update to that question. So I'll do that because this is if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn right now, it's also on YouTube and vice
Yes.
versa. So we'll put them into the
We'll put them
comments
in.
to, that you can see it in that LinkedIn posting or that which with this will be a saved YouTube
Yeah,
video for
it
folks.
would be
Yep,
definitely. And I know we also have Rohit telling everybody Merry Christmas from New Zealand.
that's great.
Merry Christmas to you as well. We have Mike Ramsey, of course, jumping in. Merry Christmas to you, Mike. I will see
Yep,
you
thank
next
you,
year.
Mike.
You're on the nice list as well, for sure.
Yes, a lot of people on our nice list here. The naughty list is just the
Hmm.
people who just refuse to improve grease lubrication.
Yes, yes.
But
And
it's
they
so
destroy
easy.
their assets.
They do, but it's so easy to get on the nice list, isn't it? It's
Yes, it
just,
is,
yep, treat
definitely.
treat your grease well, sample it, analyze it, protect your machines, and you're on the nice list.
Always protect them. And then we have Kenneth as well joining in, and he said he would love to have his portion of the grease teeth
Oh,
as a
good.
gift.
Oh, good. Share an address with us, Kenneth,
Yes,
and we'll get it out to you. That's fantastic.
yeah, for sure.
Well,
But
Sanya, have a happy and a
yes,
wonderful and Merry Christmas.
you
Enjoy the
too,
holidays.
definitely. And everybody else, thank you all so much for all of your support throughout the year. We really appreciate it. Like, we cannot do these series and these clippings without you all. It's our pleasure to bring the information to you, any parts of the world that you're in. I have to say any parts of the world that you're in because I know we have a global audience. So it's been our pleasure for the entire year just sharing information with you, getting you to where you need to be in terms of grease analysis, and just making sure that we have so much more awareness around this topic. So, thank you again and wishing you all a great Christmas season and all the best for 2025.
Yep.
Exciting things to come.
We'll see you next year.
All right, then.
All right.
Bye.
Merry Christmas. Bye now.